Alright, people. Let's talk about the Australian government fucking with workers' rights. Industrial Relations Bill. Employer groups welcome emergency provisions to allow workers' pay to be cut. That's a pretty damning headline. Coalition praised by industry lobby groups for suspending better off overall test on workplace pay deals despite fierce backlash from unions. Yep, I bet they loved it. So what does this mean? Employer groups have welcomed emergency provisions that allow businesses to cut workers' pay and conditions for at least the next 2 years. The Australian Industry Group and Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry praised the coalition for suspending the better off overall test on workplace pay deals, a move that's already prompted fierce backlash from unions. On Wednesday, the Attorney General Christian Porter will release the full Industrial Relations Omnibus Bill, saving the most contentious proposal until last after a week of announcements including removing rights to back pay from misclassified casual workers and changes to increase the flexibility of part-time work. Basically what it comes down to is this: the boot, the better off overall test. If you're not from Australia, it's okay. The better off overall test basically is a provision to make sure that workers in Australia aren't getting fucked over. In every industry, there's standards of practice. There has to be minimum pay, minimum safety conditions, minimum working conditions. This is what's called an award. That's the term it's used for whatever industry has those standards. Now, what the better off overall test does, the boot, what the boot does for workers is that it acts as a safeguard to preventing workers from being screwed over when they enter in an agreement with their employer. Now, if an employee and an employer want to negotiate their pay or their working conditions, the boot exists to ensure that they're getting a better off deal overall. So if the conditions, or if whatever change, the agreement that the employee is making for their employer is worse off than the industry standard award, then the boot applies. Whatever agreement you negotiate with your employer has to be at least equal to or greater than the industry standard. That's what the boot does. What this means for employees, this new bill, it's removing the provision of the boot, meaning that employees and employers could negotiate conditions or pay that is less than the industry standard. Now, I don't know how familiar you guys might be with the labour laws in Australia, but yeah, they're quite bad. Terrible even. Cringe, some might say. For real though, jokes aside, Australia has some of the worst, if not, I believe, maybe even the worst labour laws among developed countries. Worse than the UK, worse than America. So this is an example of the further erosion of workers' rights and the ability of unions in collective action able to take action against the erosion of workers' rights. The idea behind removing the boot is that this will help businesses recover from the economic crisis caused by COVID. Now, I'm not an economist, but this ain't it, Chief. This is part of the government's plan to help the economy get back on its feet. The problem is, there's so many factors to this, which, not just the boot, but the approach to the economy that make it a bad idea. First of all, COVID isn't gone. We can't talk about economic recovery when the disease is still ravaging the planet. The country with the largest economy in the world, America, is reeling still. It's still on the up in America, it's not going down. So to talk about economic recovery at this stage is foolish. Abolishing the boot. What this means for Australian workers is that for the next 2 years, proposed currently, Australian workers will be in a worse off position to negotiate with their employer. Given that the economic situation because of COVID is already unstable, the last thing we want to be doing is reducing the protection that workers have in the workplace. Reasons for supporting the boot have been such that we need to basically like cut the red tape. There's a lot of, basically a lot of unions and workers putting forth claims to make sure that they're being protected during this time. But the government seems to think that they need to cut out all of these cases for fair work in order to help the businesses. Now look, I want a strong economy, but this ain't it. Reducing the protections that workers have to protect them from business exploitation? We can do better. If you want the economy to get back on its feet, the only thing that's going to do that is government spending. I'm sorry. We can't expect it to just jumpstart itself. Sacrificing workers' rights so that businesses can make more money by reducing employee wages, for example, that's not going to do it. In this time of economic uncertainty, we should be protecting employee rights and having the government support local industry and small business. Especially given that the global economy isn't running at full capacity at the moment, there needs to be more of a focus on local industry and locally owned small business. The government needs to be protecting small business, ensuring that they don't go under, without sacrificing employee rights as a result. But of course, to the sitting right-wing government in Australia, this is a great idea, because the right-wing party doesn't care about workers' rights or workers' conditions, workers' pay, ensuring that people receive a fair wage, safe conditions, ensuring that families are supported in this time of uncertainty. No. It's the economy. Which I understand, but you're going about it the absolute worst way. Anyway, people, a quick video to keep up to date on what's happening with industrial rights down in Australia. Getting ever more worse. Please, it doesn't do much, but join your union. The more union membership we have, the better position we are to negotiate against laws like this. So join your union and show me some solidarity by subscribing to my channel. I'm Louis Vuitton, I'll see you again soon.